What's up? What's up? What's up? It's just the two of us as promised. The other one is out of the cold in Miami, Florida. Lucky bastard. It is
Lucky
Bluebird on
bastard.
your shoulder. And just when we thought we were having a pretty calm week, Wednesday and Thursday happened. So here we are. Uh, going to talk about a few different things that have kind of popped off the last few days. We got a war a brewing in Iran. We got a prince arrested from the Epstein files. A
Oh.
businessman stepping down from a summit, and we have your vote is important, actually, which is why I want to talk about the SAVE Act.
Yep.
This is not the same SAVE program that Biden passed that they are trying to, well, it is tied up in court for student loans. This is basically your voting rights that they're trying to suppress by gerrymandering, B, early voting they're trying to reduce. I believe here in Indiana it was by 2 weeks.
Yep.
Um, and one of the big things for women, because this will directly affect you, is if your driver's license does not match your birth certificate, which I'm sorry, if you got married, it will not. You can't
Most of
vote.
the time. Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
vote. And if you don't already have the other document that they accept in a passport, you have to go buy one, which essentially then is a poll tax, which is illegal. It's called the 24th Amendment.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah. And passports take like 90 days. So the time barrier is what they're hoping to really discourage people with.
well, yeah, yeah. And they know on the right that when voter turnout is low, they typically win. And when it
Mhm.
is high, almost all the time, the good guys win. Um, so I I don't think it'll pass because I think there's enough language in there from what I've read about it that the lawmakers are going to see that it would be a direct violation of the 24th Amendment. I don't even know how it's gotten as far as it has already. But then again, in Indiana, I'm not surprised. We are Alabama North.
Right.
Um, so I just wanted to bring that to the forefront because midterms will be here before they know it. You know, all the candidates that are up for seats or trying to take a seat are already out campaigning. Um, and there has been a gentleman we have mentioned before. I've quoted on this show before. I didn't know a lot about until this last week when I saw a clip of his and then saw his verified page and started following him and listening to a lot of what he's saying in Mr. James Tallarico. This man reminds me a lot of, he's been on TV shows, you know, late night shows already, and his aura, I will say, the way that he talks, the hype that he is getting, and the fear that he is putting into the right, because I believe that they feel that he is dangerous enough, young enough, and popular enough, and that he is on the rise fast enough that should he run in 28, they won't be able to beat him. He's running against Jasmine Crockett in district for Senate in Texas. And the gentleman that they would be running against had made a statement that if he loses, meaning that either Crockett or Tallarico defeat him, that there will be a Senate massacre in Texas. So they are deathly afraid of this man. Um, he definitely reminds me a lot of the come up, I will say, of Obama. It
Yeah.
is he has raised a shit ton of money very quickly. Within a week, he had like 486 volunteers out, you know, putting signs in yards and stuff in Texas because they can do that in February because the ground's not frozen.
Right.
Yeah. But There was also a clip I shared with the fellas that, and I think it would be wonderful. Let's say he wins Senate and becomes the forerunner for the Democratic Party 28 and wins. He would, and I think his VP should be AOC. Um, I think that's a winning ticket. I
for
think
sure.
I also think Kamala and Newsom is the winning ticket. I don't think Newsom is the president. She is right now leading by a lot over Newsom, but Tallarico
She's back in at the top already.
by double
Um,
now.
yeah,
But if Tallarico were to be pres in 28, that video said that he would make Crockett the AG.
yeah,
And I'm here for that because that woman will not put up with shit. She will hold people accountable.
yeah.
Uh, she is in a bad sense, a little hood. Um,
That's why she can't make it onto the big ticket.
right. Because I mean, she's extremely educated. She has 2 degrees. One of them is in constitutional law. The woman
Mhm.
knows shit. But let's be honest, when you're in corporate white America, even us street thugs have to learn how to talk proper.
Yeah.
Um, So, and she lets her little Southern hood out a little too much for her to be able to win in Texas specifically. So I don't think that she'll beat Tallarico, and I'm fine with that because I am fastly becoming a huge fan of Tallarico.
And I've been a fan of his since last year. So
Yeah,
I've been watching him from the beginning. And he does town halls like nobody's business.
and get
And
huge
well,
crowds.
yeah, yeah. And one of the things that I just shared with those that are watching is that Crockett and Tallarico are kind of doing the exact same thing that Obama did with using social media for the
Yeah,
first time and really like getting a foothold there. They're using TikTok in order to really draw in a lot, and they're converting that into raised money too. So I think that that grassroots that we really loved about Obama, that
right.
where like he raised most of his money through small donations and things like that. Same with Bernie. That's the vibe that they're giving, and that's the way that they're going about things. So, and for anybody that is interested in politics, the anybody that can raise to that level of notoriety with that little bit of money is somebody that you should pay more attention to than the big tickets, because a lot of money does not convert into ethics and good policy. But when we see this type of um up and coming, those are the ones that, if they're able to get the infrastructure and the base going, they can really develop an or good policy going into office.
Yeah.
So
And he's doing a lot of the debates like Dean Withers did
yeah,
with, they sit at a table across from
yeah,
20 people on the other side. Um,
hmm,
really interesting. I did some things I really like about him that I think will hold true to his character. He was on Joe Rogan
yeah,
talking about this, and about how he thinks politics should be and who he would fight for, which essentially was everybody. Even if you vote against him, he is a for the people person.
yeah,
Um, he is for bettering America. His mom was on welfare growing up. He was a teacher
hmm,
for some years. Um, and he is a Christian, but he is a Jesus Christian, not a Christian nationalist,
yeah,
a
and
Republican.
and one that believes
And
heavily in separation of church and state.
yeah, and
So
he knows his shit when it
yeah,
comes. Um, he talks about that quite often. I actually saw a video about an hour or so ago where he was at work talking with the guy that wrote a bill for chaplains in in the schools and like what those requirements would be and stuff like that. And he had asked for some amendments to be done and questioning this guy. And of course, the guy's like, I can't remember. And he's like, well, here's this, yada, yada, yada. Like, did you know you could become a certified chaplain after 40 hours on the internet, and all these things. Like, he knows
Yeah.
his stuff, and he obviously knows the legal realm. He went to school to be a teacher and then got another degree in constitutional law, which
Hmm.
at this point in our lives, I feel like if you're, I almost would say, even at the local levels, you at least need to have a minor in that to know what the hell is what. Um, because otherwise you have, you know, a guy who sniffs cocaine off the back of a toilet in charge of your health department.
Oh, that's one thing. Like, did you see the videos and stuff of him and Kid Rock working out?
Yes.
Oh, it's so bad.
And the,
God, why does anybody think that like, I just I can't believe anybody would see that and be like, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
God, it's
So
so
yeah, I
disturbing.
wanted to talk about Tallarico for a little bit because he kind of, I guess, came into my life unexpectedly and put a little seed in our listeners and watchers' ears because, like I said, midterm campaigns are already starting, and when the frozen tundra of Indiana unthaws, there will be a lot of people's yards here in the next couple of months, and
Yeah.
then it will be full go into making Mr. Trump a lame duck. Um, Not that that's necessarily good for our country, but it ain't bad right now either.
Yeah, yeah. It's less bad than him being able to push his
It's
agenda forward.
it's a cut your losses kind of thing at that.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the next thing, and I'm sure you have some professional insight in this. Is there's been a lot of movement in the world of posturing and positioning of nuclear powers in the world over Iran. Um,
Yep.
we, in the last 24 hours, moved 50 fighter jets, and the big boy is on the way over there as we speak. Um, and we moved, I forget how many carriers over there, tank sinkers last week. We have pulled troops out of Syria to reposition them. Um, Trump has told Americans to evacuate Iran immediately.
They're
It,
also pulling all troops out of Syria
yeah,
currently.
I just said that. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, it's. I know he was in the war room this morning, and it was said from intel that we could be striking Iran within hours. Um, so I know China has positioned some things, but like you said, because of where they are economically in the world right now, they probably won't do anything. And then
Yeah.
I know Russia's going to position, but I mean, shit, they're essentially struggling with a third world country with our old weapons. So I mean, what other than pressing the button on a nuke, like what are we really worried about?
Yeah.
Uh,
I think the only thing that we should be worried about really is their technical support. I know they sent a bunch of people, advisors and some of their mercs over to Iran
they,
when things were starting to escalate before.
no, I did see an article, and I didn't really read too much into it or go verify it on another source or anything, but I did see this morning that supposedly Iran was hit with two different strikes, and like 87 people were killed, and they're saying it was Israel, and of course Israel is saying it
Hmm.
wasn't them, and I'm like, of course it would be Israel because then
Right.
now we got to go,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
So And I wouldn't be surprised if, we've got, the Ohio sub sitting there chilling underwater, just waiting.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
probably there for a month, you know, or longer.
Well, and I just shared an article that talks about how Iran shut down the Strait of what is it?
Yeah, naval straits, and they shut down the airspace as well.
Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, after the Ayatollah threatened
Right.
to hit the warships. So yeah, I mean things are definitely escalating, and I don't really see um, unless Vance and them basically go to Iran and say, hey, just pretend like, we got this great deal done and we're gonna tout it. You guys, can say that you saved your people and we can de-escalate tensions. I think that this is going to be this is going to be Trump's move into, you know, keeping the US economy afloat for the next couple of years.
Well, yeah, and I saw that Pentagon Pete was out at a park playing while all of this is going on. So you're essentially supposed to be the leader of the entire military and you're not even in the war room?
Right.
What are you doing?
Well, they're playing their parts. I don't think that he really knows what he's doing at all in any
No,
fashion.
he acts
So,
playing, third level 3D chess or something, and the dude's barely playing checkers.
yeah. Yeah, I mean he doesn't get the amount of nuance to running a military or really any major organization. The dude was
Yeah,
barely a freaking
the board of peace today met for their inaugural, and
yeah,
the
that's what I'm sharing right now.
article that came out was basically that they were plotting war.
Yeah, he did announce that he's pledging, you know, what, 10 billion, I think, to
Yeah,
rebuilding Gaza, but didn't say where that was coming from or um, you
the
know,
Gulf. Yeah, I mean that's a not even so much on him, but that's a typical political answer. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, but we don't know where the
yeah.
money from. I mean, hell, if you look back at the last 10, 10 debates when they want to talk policy and how are they going to fund that, they don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Or
debates are a lot different than, somebody making promises on the world stage, you
sure,
know?
yeah,
So if the campaigns are, campaign runs, whatever somebody says there isn't something that, we really hold them to um until the next election. But
yeah,
the when you're making promises as the leader of America,
sure,
that's something that people pay attention to. And when you're not able to articulate where that's coming from or even have a funding package already built,
right,
people aren't going to take that seriously.
yeah,
And I mean, nobody's taking the board of peace seriously anyways, because it's mostly dictators and wannabes.
yeah, a lot of wannabes. Um, so yeah, so that'll be interesting to keep an eye on, probably through tomorrow, maybe even the weekend, because everything I've said is it's going to happen before the weekend. And the last time that he said that, X amount of days or hours, it was right in timeline, on the last strike that he did. Um,
Yeah, but I think the last strike was like I mentioned, when we talked about that, I'm pretty sure that that was just a, hey, we're about to hit you, clear out your people, and then we'll declare victory, and you can, you know, tell your people that you talked us off the ledge. But now it's coming back up.
But as you know,
Israel's
as a soldier, that when the president tells Americans to evacuate immediately, it's about to
that's Yeah, I mean that you we saw that with Iraq and Afghanistan.
correct.
Um, and we've seen that with strikes on Syria and
Yeah, yeah.
Yemen and stuff like that too. So
Get the hell out of the embassy.
yeah,
You know, and any civilians that are there, get out because it's gonna happen.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And the crazy part is that um, if you think about it, that's basically telling them, here it comes. And
that
one of the articles I just shared was of the um was where Iran has bolstered like some of their defenses and things like that.
yeah,
Moving concrete barriers and stuff out for bomb runs and stuff.
right.
So,
Yeah,
it's a lot of this is highly orchestrated in my mind anymore, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's weird because it definitely seems like a lot of times they know when it's gonna happen. It's almost like they give them time to prepare anymore. You
Hmm.
know, as far as to my knowledge, from the umpteen thousand pages I've read of Vietnam War and any other wars, there was usually surprise attacks. They were usually done at night, and there was
Yeah,
no heads up to the other countries that, hey, we're coming.
right.
But then back then we didn't have drones to do the work to where we could just fly it in, and it's real hard to see at night anyway. It's not like, oh, here comes a whole fucking platoon of soldiers, you know.
Well, and I think that also at the same time we should take into account the fact that um, they have the technology to track us as well. So they oftentimes know, when things are getting tense. And so by putting it all out there, I think that also gives us a little bit of wiggle room for, last minute negotiations and shit like that.
Kind of like a scare tactic,
Yeah.
like, hey, we're
Well,
done,
and
we're coming.
and
Us.
and when you start killing people, um, you know, that's when you end up shoring up people's hearts from that country. Their willingness to go to war with you becomes that much greater. So by giving them the chance to evacuate troops, then you're still hitting their equipment and things like that, but you're not killing people. So by keeping the death count down, but the cost high
Yeah,
for the opposition, I think that you're also kind of playing that game as well.
yeah, yeah. So I'm just really worried with, who Iran's buddy with, and who, I mean, we still are, but, kind of not, but are. That this might be the tipping point for Dub 3.
It could be, but like it kind of seems like everybody's bolstering and positioning. And I go back to what I've talked about, since last year when he took office and started, announcing that they're drawing down 20% of our troop strength, but increasing our budget by, you know, almost double. Like, you
Yeah,
know, the the amount of money that we're pumping into the industrial complex is, to me, what, kind of the whole point is to keep the economy running because of conflict.
sure.
And
Yeah, it's
I
the old
think that. like
That
like I talked about with you earlier, I think that Russia benefits from that as much as America does, where China is winning on the economic front. So, I think that this is kind of our last ditch effort to stay relevant at this point.
yeah, yeah. I mean, kind of goes along with the old adage that Republicans are war presidents, and
Hmm.
war at least used to be good for the economy, but is it now? I mean, it's so different now,
Well, and it's where it depends on the conflict too, like conflict with China would be terrible for our economy.
Right.
But conflict with Russia, you know, eh, that that really makes things better. Stealing Venezuela's oil and, pressuring um, you know, the that group of allies into doing something, that causes us to have to mobilize in order to spend more money in defense, that's something that can be good for our economy. I disagree completely with the whole premise, but
Well, and it
you
would have been a
know,
had that 500 million went back into our economy instead of a Trump controlled account offshores.
right, right, you
You know,
know,
how is that any different than the illegals coming over and sending their money back home?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not, other than it's being done by an American.
Yeah. Well, and it's actually worse because at least when they send money back home, it's being spent at in the Mexican economy to stabilize Mexico more so that, you
Already paid
know,
taxes on it.
right. And they've pay taxes that they're not going to get a return on,
Yeah,
you know? I
yeah,
know. And I do like I talked with a friend of mine about, my mixed emotions about like the the whole thing. If the Republicans were really genuine and about this, they would be pushing for immigration reform and streamlining so that people were able to get work visas and things like that in a way that made sense in order to stabilize the economy that we've used those workers to supplement.
yeah,
When it comes to keeping restaurant prices down, when it comes to keeping produce prices down, and all of the construction work that they fill in places for. Um, if we could just make that more legal and more streamlined, I think that the benefits would come out of that, and then the whole facade of, oh, we have so many illegals and it's causing so many problems would be something that they couldn't, use because all of those things would be tracked better, you
right.
know?
Yeah,
Um,
yep. So I guess kind of the last thing to get into, um, Epstein files once again. Prince Andrew was arrested for his connections.
yeah,
Um, Bill Gates stepped down from a summit for his connections. Oh, what else was there? South Korean, the former South Korean, was he prime minister or president?
yeah. He was the prime minister, I think. Yeah,
Was
I just had that
for an insert,
right. Yeah, so he was convicted for insurrection for declaring martial law.
right?
And that was
For the government.
a while ago. They imprisoned him for life for
Yeah.
that.
So I guess my question,
Just saying.
yeah, I guess my
When a
what
sitting president
hard?
does an insurrection, putting him in prison for life is the right answer, not reelecting him.
Yeah. So what's so fucking hard? We have a
Right.
member of the royal family
Yeah.
arrest, and he was mentioned 40,000 times less than Trump. And then right before I left work, or right after I left work, actually, uh, the Department of Justice scrubbed 4 different interviews from victims involving Trump. From
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
and I think that
I mean, that's neither here nor there.
oh, what was it?
I'm very, very interested to see what comes of when other countries are doing their investigations and release information. Uh,
That's what I'm hoping.
I did,
You know,
I did read an article. I think I shared it with you guys. Absolutely blew my mind. Or no, it was a video I saw. Absolutely blew my mind, and it was sourced of um, one of the reasons why they were trying to hide things was to save Bitcoin because they said if you knew who they shared an interview with someone, a finance guy, and said if you knew who the real inventor of Bitcoin was and it was revealed, its value would plummet instantly. And they kept saying the Chinese or Japanese guy.
yeah.
And and then they shared a dated time-stamped email that the idea was sold to him by none other than Jeffrey Epstein.
Huh. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that the code was written by, you know. So
He
I
he
mean,
was paying
we
up
everybody already knows that, you know, crypto is the way to transfer you know, wealth around and, you know, wash your money. And so, I mean, it's not like it's a secret. We all knew that that's exactly what it was
for.
for. What's that?
I thought that's what Trump Tower was for.
Well, that's how you got favor curried with the president his first term.
Yeah,
Now he's just accepting that money outright.
yeah, no doubt, and ain't even hiding
No, no, he's accepting
it.
jets, stealing oil, freaking half a billion at a time.
Yeah, so it's it's one of those things where I feel like once again we were at a crossroads with that investigation. That now it's look over here again. Now they're saying, oh, we've moved on from that. And now they're saying that they're not going to release the other 80% of the files, which
Yep,
is a direct violation of the federal judge's order.
yep.
Uh, so I don't know how they're all not being held in contempt. Um,
I did see something. I had it up, and
you
I think I
and
lost it. But
don't
one of
want
the
to testify.
what's that?
I said now miraculously they don't want the Clintons to testify.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were hoping to get him on a gotcha, but they said, "All right, fine."
yeah,
So now
yeah.
suddenly,
They
who cares now?
what Brian said when they called the bluff and was like, "All right, let's do it
Hmm.
out in the," because they know if they do it behind closed doors, shit's gonna get twisted and shit's not gonna get released as
Yep.
to what they said, and they're gonna, fabricate shit and buffer it and make it look all like it was nothing. And see, Trump wasn't mentioned at all.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's one of those where it's almost. I mean, I would say if it wasn't for standing up for the victims, and by the victims I mean the women and children, I guess there were little boys allegedly too, um, but in general, any victim of that type of disgusting act and
Yeah.
crime, I'll be the first person to stand up for. I've got children and I dare you, you
Yeah.
know.
Well,
I
and you know, the the fact that this has become political instead of just a demand for justice is what kills me.
which
Um,
why really really hoping that one of these foreign countries start investigating it and
mhm.
hold accountable for crimes against humanity, because then
Yeah.
he can be arrested.
And I know that one of Epstein's estates um is being searched now for bodies, um, based off of some of the reports that there were bodies buried. So, um, and that's, I think that that was done at the state level. So I want to say it was New Mexico, but I can't find the article now. Um,
Well,
and so,
and, and in Florida, they just passed a law too that if you are convicted of a sex crime of a victim of 12 or younger, you spend life in prison.
hmm,
Well, guess where some of these acts happened? In the
yeah,
Mar-a-Lago, which happens to be in Florida.
yeah. Well, and they have the original complaint that was filed down there and
Yeah,
multiple interviews that were done saying that um Trump assaulted, I think it was three different girls, um
yeah,
and was part of the whole Epstein case that was that they're trying to erase now.
yeah. Well, and once he's out of office, one way or another, uh, if it's the he's still living, um, then you're a citizen at that point. And just like you found out the last time when you got out of office, you might be collecting some more felonies, sir.
Yeah, yeah,
So that'll be interesting to see. Um,
yeah. I'm real hopeful that this draws enough enough interest long enough that we start to see some reform. And a lot of this is building up to, what was the point the whole time, which is why, I supported the push for the release of the Epstein files, even when the Republicans were pushing for it, was, this is how we finally break down the understanding of the billionaire class versus the rest of us, and how there is a two-tiered justice system that works for them and not for anybody else, you
well,
know.
yeah. I mean, hindsight, when they were pushing for the release, it was during campaign. And
Sure.
I'm sure the smart people on their end realized how many people aren't smart on their end and knew that they couldn't be released during the Biden
Oh
administration.
yeah, yeah. I'm not saying that
And
they
they
were,
placed
you
the
know
blame
that.
that they neglected to, and that would rile up their base to get them out to vote to get
Yep.
that released. And, as soon as you're in
Yep.
office, now it ain't getting released.
Yeah, and that's where the follow through for those of us that are focused on the real reason for this, besides the justice for any of the victims, is also to really outline what we need to do as Americans to find better representation, you know, with people like Crockett and Tallarico. We've got options that will do the right thing,
Yeah.
but we have to elevate them and,
Yeah.
and shame and put
Because,
down these monsters.
yeah, because they could have, I mean, I'll give them this. They could have been released in the Biden administration had Garland not dropped the ball and made a motion for them to be unsealed.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
But at the time, there was still some question about um what they
well,
were going to pursue as far as people that they could still work towards convicting. um and
no, but they
so
were sealed because of Maxwell's case.
right.
Over, they could have
Well,
motion.
what they were hoping for with Maxwell was they were hoping to get more information that they could pursue in order to get more convictions, which is why they did that.
That's
So So like there was a reason why it wasn't done under Biden, and we've talked about that. But the yeah, I think that the ambiguity and the lack of clarification, the fact that the Democrats didn't come out and say, this is specifically why, and here is the report from the FBI, the DOJ, explaining that. I think that was a failure on their part, and probably mostly because they were scrambling trying to figure out who the candidate was going to be for the run. So
Right, right. Yeah. So,
speaking of that last little bit, I just got this one last thing, and then we're gonna wrap up. But um, Trump's already pushing towards Georgia to try to undermine the election coming up, and so that's going to be something that we're going to start seeing more of is his claims that if they lose, then it was a stolen election,
oh,
despite the fact that
you have
he.
seen what came out already from Minnesota and what they found in Georgia already.
Mm.
Uh,
Oh, have they announced some of their investigation findings?
well, for one, let's start here with elections work just fine for people who lost in 44 prior elections, except for these two with this motherfucker.
Right.
So he had what, 60 different election fraud cases that he tried to sue for, and
Hmm.
all of them were thrown out for no.
Every single one.
They did not find any evidence. Um,
Yep. And there was what, four audits done in Georgia alone,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, and like specific,
Recounts and audits.
yeah. So, because they didn't find those 11,000 votes, so something had to be wrong. Um, and then, oh, by the way, it came out that there weren't dead people voting, and Democrats didn't cheat. And gee, let's see what else. If Democrats cheated, then that means the elections that you did win aren't valid either.
Right.
So why are you in office? Um, and then what they have released some of the findings from Minnesota and Georgia so far is that what the actual what did they use, projection of what would be corrected is that he would actually have lost the popular vote by like 8%, which I'm sorry, he claims as a landslide at not even 1.5%. At
Yeah.
8% would be a near record.
Yeah. You
So,
know,
and I did see a comparison on, I forget what news it was, but they did they were basically doing polling that when he took office, uh it was like they kind of reran based off of opinion. So when he won, they just round it, and it was rounded down to 1% because it wasn't even 1.5%. Uh,
hmm.
he took office in January. It was 1%. Rerunning the polls for election in April of last year, so 4 months in, it was she would have won by 3.5%.
Hmm.
And then now it was almost 9%. Like, dude, you're getting so much so that you won't release the Gallup poll anymore. You won't release the jobs report. You won't release what was the other one? The GDP report. Like,
Yep.
you're just terrible and all that as a human, as a politician. You're using up my oxygen. Um, and it's time for us to do something about it. So let's get our hands warmed up and dig our feet in for midterms, fellas.
Yep. It's time
And,
to do some work.
it's
All right, with
time.
that, I think, what's that?
as they like to say, it's time to take the country back.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
with that, we will wrap up. It'll be just the two of us again next week, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And then it'll be the other two of us because someone's going nighty night for a little while.
I'm going under the knife. I find
So,
out tomorrow exactly what day it'll be. So next week I'll have that to share.
all right. Well, until next week, we bid adieu. This is Bluebird on your shoulder.
Have a good week.